Hello, namaste. This is Tim Halloran. I'm an astrologer here in Savannah, Georgia, and this is a weekly astrological forecast. I put these videos on YouTube once a week, and you can help support future videos from me by purchasing a reading from the link below. So it is Wednesday, the 7th. Not even sure totally what day it is. It's a pretty weird time. Yes, it is kind of this post-full moon kind of awkward phase that we're in. I mean, I'm trying to practice what I preach, and so this video is coming out a day or two later than usual. I'm recommending going slow and being very easy and soft on ourselves this time, you know, because it's like last week's video, I was talking for half an hour straight. There was so much going on. I mean, we had the sun square to the, Pluto-Uranus square. We had the full moon aligning with the moon's nodes, and it's like this full moon and the New Year's time was this big buildup of energy. And then the full moon in Cancer was like getting a bucket of water dumped over our head. You know, it can be very disorienting. This was a big purge. Yes, this was like getting the stuff stirred up at the bottom of the kettle, you know. And this is the big insecurity moon too. So what it is like, you know, when this pot gets stirred, you know, there might be this big chunk or another level is kind of like taken off and it drips up. But, you know, then there's all this, you know, residue and sediment that starts trickling up that was kind of like suppressed from all of this. So, you know, it's kind of like this week we're majorly still letting this stuff settle in, and we're kind of, you know, figuring out and discerning what's going on. And, you know, there is a real need to be soft, to slow down, to be very careful, I would say, and aware of our own self-love and of our own self-nurturance. Yes, this being Capricorn season, this is the considerably hard, kind of mechanical time of the year. The planets are into the fourth and final quarter of the Zodiac. I mean, we've got the inner planets all in this fourth quarter now. Yes, Sun's in Capricorn for another 2 weeks. Over the last weekend, we had Venus move into Aquarius, immediately followed by Mercury in Aquarius. And then next Monday, we've got Mars pushing from Aquarius into Pisces. So these last 3 signs are the final quarter. And this final quarter is the most existential, far out, I mean, kind of mind-blowing signs. So when we look at the Zodiac, you know, the first quarter is just the individual. The personality, us as individuals, our universes in ourselves, it is yourself. The second quarter, we start involving other people, our family members, our friends, relationships. Okay, things get a little bit more complicated, but it's still very personal. It's your home, your sphere, okay? It is down to earth, it is grounded. Third quarter, we get involved with the society, the nations, yes, the culture, the whole world, okay, kind of comes into play with Capricorn, entering this final quarter. And then we move into Aquarius. And as my teacher, Kai Pacha, says it, you know, Aquarius isn't even really air, although it's an air sign. It's the final air sign. It's more so the outer space, you know, the universe. And then we move into Pisces, which he says is more like ether than it is water. I mean, it is the absolute dissolution of everything. Okay, and Kai Pacha's teacher, Jeff Wolf Green, says that Pisces actually contains the rest of the Zodiac in it. It's this very far out and beyond type of sign. Okay, ruled by Neptune, it's the ocean, and what this is the ocean of everything. The whole universe and everything else inconceivably fit into one thing. It is also unconditional love. It is faith. And we're going to be talking about faith in this video because I think faith is something that we really need to practically understand and have the correct understanding of, the correct definition, because this is insecurity season, yes? Capricorn season tends to bring out our insecurities. This past full moon was a big one. It stirred up the pot. It's bringing up all these insecurities. And what these insecurities are playing upon is more than one level. As we talked about last week, you know, the Cancer-Capricorn polarity is kind of the mother and the father, and they have these different expectations that then becomes conditionings that we place on our own shoulders and make ourselves feel like failures if we're not carrying those expectations. So it's like Capricorn tends to be the time where we feel short on money. It's like financial insecurity, mundane resources. It's survival security. Okay, but also we have the emotional insecurity. So it's like not only can we feel a little on edge about making the next paycheck and paying off the bills, but let's say that we are short on a bill, for example. I mean, this is going to bring up a whole nother level of insecurity, because now we've got to ask somebody for a favor to borrow some money. Maybe we've got to talk to that relative we haven't spoken to a long time, and we're putting ourselves out there, and it feels like self-sacrifice. It feels like failure. It feels like you dropped the ball. And we really kind of like put this hard and harsh, cold reality on ourselves that's not so necessary, but it's hard not to do it anyways because of how we've been conditioned. And we've been conditioned from the ground up. I mean, going through grade school up until now, it's like you've got to meet this particular bar. You've got to pass this grade. You've got to pay the bills. You've got to make the paycheck. And if you don't, you're a failure. You're wasting your time. It's because you haven't been doing this. It's because you haven't been doing this. I mean, it's all your fault. And who's to blame but yourself? And then we silently take the cat of nine tails and we whip ourselves. And what we do is we prevent ourselves from receiving our own self-love and security in the times when we need it the most. Yes, this is the time that we need most to slow down and to especially be very, very soft and nurturing, warm and loving during this time. And really what it is, it's from December to March is when we're in the last quarter of the Zodiac, which is this most existential, far out type of feeling. You know, it's like as we progress through the Zodiac, this is how we feel. So we feel this existential, oh, there's so many cogs, there's so many gears that need to keep spinning, and like there's so much that has to keep going, and I cannot slow down. I've got to make sure that I'm doing this, this, and this. And it's like, on one level, yes, Capricorn is the mechanism. The mechanism is always an aspect of reality, and we have to make sure that we're operating within it healthily. We do have to mechanically make sure that we're eating food, otherwise we'll starve. We have to mechanically make sure we're going to bed. And we can take the lens, the perspective that this is all very mechanical, although it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I mean, these can be naturally an organic feeling, but it doesn't tend to feel that way. Yeah, Capricorn reminds me of these reoccurring nightmares I used to have when I was a child. And it would always begin the same. It would begin with a little dandelion, a little tiny flower on a patch of grass. And then I would become aware, like my awareness would move back, and I would become aware that this flower was within a room, and the room was like a garage. It was all like mechanical and like cold kind of feeling. And then my awareness would move back again, and this room would be in another room, and it was all mechanical. And then like it would keep going back and back and back, and layer after layer of these gears and cogs and mechanisms would keep surrounding this tiny little, what would become a microscopic flower. And it wasn't so much the imagery and the symbolism that would make me be so upset. And this was such an upsetting dream, I would oftentimes wake up vomiting, because it was actually the feeling of this dream that was so disturbing. And it was the feeling of this lifeless, cold, mechanical existence that is absolutely overpowering this tiny little flower. That is really us. Yes, and the world can seem like this giant mechanism during this time, and we have to jump through these hoops, and like we're feeling so much these days. You know, this moon is about feeling. It's stirred up all these feelings. This is a time of major processing, and we have to give ourselves permission to process. Okay, I mean, it's like when someone goes through a traumatic situation, automatically that person will go into shock. And what shock is that pull back, that objective observant, all of a sudden it's still and you can't feel everything. You know, if you've experienced shock, that's what it is. It's like all of a sudden everything goes beep. It's like a flat line, everything goes blank. That is what Aquarius is. Aquarius is this pulling back and objectively seeing everything. And it's like we have that huge amount of space and that stillness to perceive everything from. But it is still kind of cold, you know, it's like objective. It's like, wow, look at me all the way down there feeling all those things. Isn't that weird? You know, so it's kind of like a mixed blessing with this Mercury and Venus now in Aquarius. And what it is, you know, for the next 2 weeks, Mercury is going to be chasing Venus. Venus typically moves slower than Mercury, but Mercury is actually slowing down now. So the two of them are moving together through Aquarius, being just like, what is going on here? Like, let's take a step back and see, like, try to process this stuff. And Mercury's slowing down. And in 2 weeks is going to turn retrograde and be retrograde through the rest of the month and most of February. And Mercury is going to be dissecting and looking at this from the very objective, outer space perspective of Aquarius. And like I said, this can be a bit of a mixed blessing, because it's like, on one hand, this is very nice because, you know, when you're feeling so much emotional stuff, you do need to pull yourself out a little bit to give yourself some perspective, to see what these emotions are really about. And what I'm going to say is that it's mostly insecurities that are coming up, and that's why we're going to be talking about faith. Because faith, unlike what most people assume it to be, which is that faith is a belief, and faith has nothing to do with beliefs. I mean, it actually aggravates me, the way people throw around the word faith and how people practice faith, because it is totally not what faith is. Faith is your capability to accept what is, okay? So, where we may be feeling insecure and someone says, it's okay, just have faith in yourself, it's going to have faith that it's going to be okay, is that saying you shouldn't be feeling your insecurities? If that's what the implication is, that's wrong. Because faith is not, oh, you shouldn't feel insecure because you should have more faith and therefore not feel insecure. Faith is the, I can feel insecure and know who I am. I can feel insecure and love myself while I am feeling insecure, because I am allowed and it's okay to feel insecurity. I have faith that the universe is okay the way it is right now, and I am feeling insecurity right now. You see, what faith really is our capability to accept what is. Whereas many people believe it is the capability to accept what isn't here. Oh, I have faith in some God. I have faith in some heaven. I have faith that my God believes this about you, so you need to change yourself. You need to change your structure. You need to change what you're feeling. I mean, it's a really kind of far-out example, but it's like people that are condemning the homosexuals, saying, no, I have faith in a world where homosexuality is evil. You're trying to change nature. You're trying to change what is. And that's not faith. That's the opposite of faith. That is the belief that there is a flaw in what is. You understand? So, if we are believing that faith is rejecting what is, that's the same as saying there is a flaw in nature and God's creation. There's a flaw in God. And that's what faith is. Faith is, I am going to trust that there is a flaw with the creation that God made. And I have faith in that. It doesn't make any sense. So what we really need to do is accept everything that's going on right now, including all of the feelings, and we really need to feel. This is a feeling time, this is a processing time, because there's a lot of transformation going on. When you feel uncomfortable, we need to really practice this type of deconditioning. When we feel uncomfortable, when we feel bad, the instinctual thing to put on ourselves is that we are doing something wrong and that we're failing. When in fact that is simply a signifier that transformation is happening, and transformation is good. We want to transform, okay? Because we aren't totally satisfied with the way the world is right now, which is not the same as rejecting the world as it is right now. We must embrace everything that is here, including what is uncomfortable. Therefore, we can transform it. You see, that's how we actually create heaven on earth. It's not by believing in something that's not here. It's by accepting what is here, even if it doesn't seem heavenly, thereby processing it. So wherever we feel these insecurities, and this is a time of feeling these things, and this is also a time of seeing it very clearly with this Aquarius energy, giving us this objective ability to see what's going on. And you know, these insecurities can oftentimes be like, oh, I thought I got rid of this a long time ago, and now it's coming back. I can see it very clearly. This is an opportunity to grow. Yes, but wherever we feel insecure, we don't feel good, rather than thinking automatically, I'm a failure, I need to change this, this is an opportunity to practice something new and different, which is to love the being that is feeling insecure. I mean, if someone is feeling insecure because they are at their first performance at an orchestra, and they've never performed in front of a live audience, there's a number of different ways we can go about making that person, you know, trying to comfort that person. One of them is to, you know, slap them on the back and be just like, don't worry, you're gonna do totally fine. Okay, which is another way of saying, you know, don't feel bad. Don't worry about it. You're going to not fail. Don't worry about failing. You're just not going to fail. That possibility exists, but don't worry. You're not going to fall in that category. Or what you could say is, irrelevant of how you play your instrument today, we're always going to see you as the same person. We're always going to love you. You're going to come to the same home. It's not going to change anything about how anybody sees you or anything else like that. And you see how that feels completely different? It's like, that's relaxing, like, oh, okay, I don't have to fall in one category. It's okay, I'm not a failure. I can play however I'm going to play and not have to worry about the expectations. And this is a way of putting life and nurturance and that warm, comforting, feminine energy back into that person in a situation that feels very mechanical. The curtains are going to open. You got to play the specific notes at the right time. If you mess up, if you play a note at the wrong time, everyone's going to know it's you. And it's like, yeah, that may be true. All the mechanisms are there, but don't worry so much about the mechanisms. Not because you're not going to fail, so don't worry about it. But there is no failure, because even if you did play a wrong note, that's not a failure. That's not going to change anything. Okay. This is an excellent time to see how hard we are on ourselves. And for myself personally, I just think that this is just incredible how hard I've been on myself personally. Like, I'll share this with you. It's like in the past, the old paradigm spirituality that I used to practice, for example. It's like every single time I would do something good, clean the house, give away to charity, do something, you know, spontaneous and nice. Instead of allowing myself to feel good about that decision, I would just say, this is how it ought to be. This is who I am. That's to be expected. This is called normality. If I'm not cleaning the house and giving away to charity, well, then I'm not meeting expectation and I'm doing something wrong. So it's like, by doing good things, we don't even allow ourselves to feel good about it. In fact, we only allow ourselves to feel bad things that are telling us that we aren't meeting the expectations, instead of commending ourselves every time we do. So it's like in last week's video, I said, like, if you can pay the bill, if you can survive another day, congratulate yourself, you did it. You know, one of my favorite teachers, Matt Kahn, you know, he exaggerates this and says, you know, every time you walk through a doorway, applaud yourself. Yeah, I just walked through that doorway. It was awesome. You see how well I walked through that doorway? Because we don't give ourselves credit for the little mundane things that we're doing all the time. Instead, we just hold over our head what we aren't. So, for example, in like last week's YouTube video, it's like there's so many positive comments and there's always just one, and this is the one that sticks. It's the negative comment that always sticks and lingers, yeah. So it's the one comment that's just like, sorry to say this, but, you know, you're speaking to us as if, you know, you're reading the collective transits, but actually it's totally inaccurate to read the collective transits. You're just basically saying your own opinion into the camera as if it were everybody's, you know. Sorry, sorry. Your whole life is bullshit, you know, and it's just like, okay, you know, I don't take it seriously. It's coming from an angry person. I'm a young hippie. It's an easy target, whatever, toss it out. But then that's the one thing that lingers. It's like 130 thumbs up on the video and the one thumbs down, you know, certainly the same person. And it's just like, that's the one thing that's lingering in the back of my mind. And it's like, I can't even believe that that's the one thing hanging in the back of my mind. Like, okay, like, of course there's always going to be complainers, there's going to be hecklers, I know this, I have tons of experience of this. Why is that stuck there? Because it's a reflection of my own harshness that I put on myself. And it's just like, you know, it doesn't even matter how much positive affirmation I have as long as the potential for failure exists. Oh no, I can mess up. What if I don't make the next cut? You know, I wasn't even sure what to say in this video. I'm going to sound like a total idiot, you know? It's like, freezing up, the life gets cut off, the blood stops flowing, your breath gets short, you know? And this is a way of turning ourselves into a mechanism. Like, our purpose is to make sure that, you know, it's like the Vestal Virgins I was talking about last week, where it's like the purpose, your existence is to make sure this fire is always going. So you are a mechanism, you just feed to the fire. It's like, we live so much of our life this way, where it's like, yes, in order to be a good person, I have to jump through this hoop. In order to be a good person, I have to jump through this hoop. So, long story short, this week, no matter what hoops you jump through, and no matter how many times you fall on your face, you are a good person. Congratulate yourself for all of the wonderful things that you are always doing, and don't give yourself the time to credit yourself. Slow down. Breathe deeply. Don't take it so seriously, but even more than that, I mean, just understand that you are not going to be the serious thing at the end of the day. You know, it's like the seriousness, the mechanism, the obligation, the life and death, the having to meet the cut, you know, all of this type of mechanical, three-dimensional, am I going to make it or am I not going to? I mean, that's just how this week kind of feels. Like, am I going to make it? I don't know. And it's like, you are not that person who's going to make it or not. Yeah, that's all the surface little games and dramas that we play. And, you know, it's okay to feel insecure. It's okay to be kind of feeling let down and like hard and like this is tough, you know. But let us be practical, you know, and understand what we're doing. You know, this doesn't mean that you drift away in the clouds and you disregard your, you know, what you need to do in the world. And at the same time, don't get overly absorbed in the mechanism that is lifeless. Make sure that there is life there, and that life is inconceivable. It is not defined by form. It's not defined by failures, successes. You know, this is not spirituality. Did you do the regimen? Did you pray this many times a day? Did you meditate this many times a day? This is old paradigm mentality that has led us to believe that we are failures, and then we keep ourselves outside of the gates of the garden. You know, it's not God that's doing it. It's us. We say, oh, I'm a failure. God doesn't love me anymore. I didn't do my amount of rounds today. I didn't meditate enough today. I didn't say enough pleasant things. I got angry. I got scared. I got sad and I blew up. I'm a failure. You know, Capricorn can be like Eeyore. Oh, bother. You know, it's the anti-faith. And it's not a bad guy. I mean, we have to have this practicality and discernment to actually acknowledge what's going on. And what he's saying is, this isn't perfect yet. There's something to be fixed, yes? We've got Black Moon Lilith in Virgo right now, and it's actually really auspicious, I think, that she's there. She's moving into an opposition with Neptune through the next 2 weeks. And what this is she's allowing us to not get drifted away into disillusionment and being just like, you know, all is an illusion, and, you know, there's no problems here. Whenever there's a problem, that's just my own inventing of a problem. Everything is perfect, all is one. It's just like, yeah, we get that, but there's work to do. There's stuff to clean out. Virgo is like cleaning house, and what she's really doing is, you know, Virgo opposite to Neptune is in a T-square to Pallas Athena right now. This is just having this full spectrum be very, very clear. We can see what is nice. We can see what still needs cleaning. And it's just like, okay, just accept it all, you know. Lilith and Virgo can be like, you know, you're out to dinner with your girlfriend and the waitress walks by and you look at the waitress and your girlfriend says, I saw what you just did. Like, I know what you did. Yeah, it's not perfect yet. It's not pure yet. Yeah, I see what you just did. It's not perfect yet. It's not pure yet. Yeah, this is what we're doing to ourselves all the time right now. And this isn't bad. That's enormously helpful because we are cleaning house right now. We're cleaning, purging, moving all of this insecurity and stuff out. However, there's a nice balance that we can have with Neptune, Neptune's just always singing the song. He's the oceanic god. He's riding the wave, singing his song. All is perfect, all is God's will, la la la, you know. But that doesn't mean that we become disillusional, like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling insecure about doing this video, for example, because I just need to believe that everything that comes out of my mouth is God's will. You hear this? This is fucking God's will. You hear that curse word? That was God's will too. No, there has to be a balance there. We have to know the goal, the desires, the end, you know, the all in one hand. Yes, unconditional love. Yes, we're singing our song. And we're on this earth. We are human beings. We're not made to be perfect. We're made to make mistakes. We're made to make mistakes so we can see what those mistakes are, so we can understand what's going on, so we can be transforming and evolving and dancing and not just standing in one place perfectly all the time. because that would be illusion. That's not how reality is. Reality is you don't become enlightened and suddenly you're surrounded by clouds for eternity. Enlightenment is I am allowed to feel negativity and insecurity, and I trust myself to feel these things, and it's going to be okay because I still trust in the laws of the universe that I have tangibly and experientially learned and integrated with my being. It's not a belief. Faith is not a belief. But simultaneously, I am allowed to feel these things because this is a part of that. There is no flaw in any of this. There is no flaw in even the really deep, scary feelings that there is a flaw in this. So faith is having trust in what is and not trying to avoid what is. Faith is our capability to accept what is, whatever it is, and to love it, irrelevant of how it appears. So irrelevant of how you appear and irrelevant of how you feel, love it anyways. And this is the transmutation process that is happening. Stuff gets brought up, doesn't look pretty, doesn't look good, love it anyways. Oh yes, and it's all God. When we push something away, when we say this is not us, this is not me, this is not perfect, this is not God's creation, that's the same as holding on to it because God and the totality of creation and everything is saying, oh yes it is. And the more you try to push away something that is there and useful and integral to your experience, you must experience negativity. You must experience insecurity. If you're going to be a compassionate healer in this world, you expect to heal other people feeling insecurity if you never feel it? Accept everything that comes to you. Allow this last bit of fizzling to come up. Allow us to process everything best we can. Allow us to be as nurturing and soft and loving on ourselves, and allow us to receive it from other people even if we don't feel like we deserve it, even if we feel like we are a failure, even if we feel like we're letting people down. The more we resist our own self-love and the love from other people, the more we are keeping ourselves outside of the gate by our own choice, and we will remain there until we consider ourselves worthy enough to go back. You are worthy. There's nothing you can do to cut out your own worthiness of who you always are. You always are what you are. Accept that. All right? So we got a Mercury retrograde coming up in 2 weeks. Okay? We got some stuff we can look at. All the Mercury retrogrades are happening in air signs. Check your chart to see what planets are in the air signs, because that's going to be the part of yourself that we're going to be reviewing and processing this year. Okay? We can see how this collective energy is individually affecting you as well by doing a reading that you can purchase from me at the link below. So I'm wishing all the best for you and your beloveds. Namaste.